Hi, and welcome to another presentation from your business tutor, learning your way, anytime, anywhere. Thus far in our discussions, we have made a fairly major assumption about the Human Resources Department, and that is that they are reactive in their approach. In other words, they wait for something to happen before doing something about it. However, dynamic, forward-thinking human resource departments are anything but reactive. Instead, they anticipate and take charge of situations so that they are in the best position to deal with and take advantage of the situation they find themselves in. In short, they adopt a proactive approach, which leads us nicely into today's topic, which is workforce planning. So what are we going to learn in this presentation? Well, first of all, we're going to find out what workforce planning is. Then we're going to explore the benefits of workforce planning. And then finally, we're going to investigate the measures an organisation uses to achieve its workforce plan. Okay, let's get started with our first question, which is, what is workforce planning? In a nutshell, workforce planning is all about ensuring an organisation has the right people with the right skills in the right jobs at the right time, so that it can achieve its objectives over the next few years. What this means for the Human Resources Department is that they will be responsible for identifying what an organisation's future staffing requirements will be, and then putting in place measures to achieve them based on the strategy and objectives set by the business. To achieve this, a Human Resources Department will follow a workforce planning process, which, as you might expect, begins with understanding the organisation's future strategy and objectives. In other words, working out what and where the business wants to be in the future. Once this is done, the HR department will complete an analysis of current staff to identify such things as what jobs exist in the business, what skills do staff have, what is the age profile of current staff, and in which areas does the business have difficulty recruiting staff. After this, the HR department will then carry out a similar analysis of future staffing requirements, identifying such things as how many staff will be needed, what skills must they have, what jobs will exist, and how will changes in technology and legislation affect this. Next, the organisation will compare their current against their future staffing analysis to identify any gaps and issues. For example, a gap that may be identified is that the business does not currently employ any staff in a certain part of the country it intends to expand into. Whereas an issue may be the age profile in a key department is so high that over the next few years, lots of experienced staff will be retiring, meaning a lot of pressure will be put on recruitment. Based on this, the organisation will then develop its workforce plan to ensure all gaps and issues are dealt with effectively by putting in place measures to remove them. For example, employing a recruitment agency to find staff in a new part of the country when the business expands there. Of course, to maximise the effectiveness of an organisation's long-term workforce plan, it should be split into shorter-term operational plans, which should then be monitored by the HR department to ensure the overall plan stays on track and that all objectives are achieved by the completion date. However, and this is a vital final point, a workforce plan should never be a static document. If circumstances change or what is expected does not occur, the plan must be refined so that an organisation's staffing requirements always meets its needs. In short, a workforce plan must be a working document that adapts to the circumstances it faces. Okay, let's now turn to a linked question and ask, what are the benefits of workforce planning? One of the major benefits is the proactive approach used in workforce planning means an organisation will have the correct staffing in place to meet its future requirements and objectives. This is so important because doing this will lower an organisation's costs, as extra money will not need to be spent dealing with future staff or skill shortages. Which of course has an added benefit because having the right staff with the right skills in place means the business will find it much easier to implement and achieve its long-term strategy. Further still, if the workforce plan attracts and retains the best people, the business will not only see higher productivity and better customer service, but will also ensure that important contracts are completed on time, meaning fines for missing deadlines are avoided. However, as you might expect, getting future staffing requirements right is very much dependent upon identifying gaps in current staffing, in order that strategies can be put in place to fill the gaps. This is a big benefit of workforce planning, as it allows a business to address specific weaknesses such as low staff motivation or lack of skilled staff before they become a problem. This obviously has an added benefit, as by addressing such issues and gaps, an organisation will gain competitive advantage over businesses which have not. For example, putting in place measures to create a fantastic working environment may help a business attract and retain the best staff. But also, as a workforce plan is a working document, it means if circumstances change due to new employment legislation, for example, that a business that plans will be the first to react and adapt, meaning it will be in a better position to take advantage of such opportunities. For example, if government funding for apprenticeships increased, a business may decide to take on more school leavers. Okay, let's now turn to our final question and ask, what measures might a business use to achieve its workforce plan? A workforce plan can only be achieved if the gaps between an organisation's current staffing situation and its future requirements can be eliminated. As such, to understand how this could be achieved, it is important to first identify the gaps and then look at measures that can be used to overcome them. For example, if staff retention is a problem, an organisation may well introduce exit interviews to identify why staff are leaving, and then based on the feedback they receive, they may implement further measures to keep staff. This could be as simple as putting in place a new pay and bonus structure, all the way through to offering staff more flexible working practices. On the other hand, if motivation is identified as an issue and is causing low productivity, the business may introduce individual output targets for staff, or alternatively may encourage managers to involve staff in decision making. However, if the issue is a skills shortage, an organisation may put in place an extensive range of internal training courses to upskill staff. Whereas, if an organisation identifies it is lacking key personnel, or that staff in senior positions are due to retire, it may ask a recruitment agency to undertake a headhunting process to find potential candidates to fill those positions. Alternatively, if the workforce plan discovers the minimum wage is expected to rise significantly, the business may look into replacing staff with machines and put out a request to staff to find out if any are interested in taking early retirement or voluntary redundancy. And finally, if it is found the organisation is not attracting good enough staff, it may introduce trial periods, but also adapt its recruitment and selection processes to attract and identify better staff. Okay, so what did we learn in this presentation? Well, first of all, we found out what a workforce plan is. Then we went on to investigate the benefits of workforce planning. And then finally, we explored the measures an organisation uses to achieve its workforce plan. When it comes down to it, The process of workforce planning is essential if a business is to gain competitive advantage. If the right staff with the right skills can be attracted and retained, an organisation won't just have a better chance of fully achieving its strategy, but will have enhanced its greatest asset, its people.